Hello, Mzansi. Welcome to Game On, where we've said time and time again over the last few months, the football doesn't end, just the matches do. With so much to talk about, looking back and forward, either in Germany, in England, or right here in Mzansi. I am Sizu Mapena, proud to be in your company. And starting off the show, we are joined, of course, by Shane. Let's waste no time and get straight into it, Shane. Good to be in your company. Let's talk about some of the results, what they mean, and what it means for Liverpool with the most impressive, most recent result, the 2-1 win over West Ham.
Yeah, good to be here with you, Professor. Yeah, you know,
jokes.
It was a good game, you know. So, end of the day, they got the result. Scored all 3 goals, but still got the result at the end of the day. But it was one of those games that just needed to grind the result out. You can see that they're not playing to their full ability at the moment. They're struggling a little bit, but it's all tiredness. You know, it's been a long season. Pressure on from the beginning, so result is all that counts.
We've talked throughout the season as well about some of the senior players, the more influential players, and contracts. No one more important than Mo Salah, of course. The good news for Liverpool fans is that he's extended his stay at Anfield until 2027, especially after the season he's had. How great a piece of news was this for Liverpool fans, especially looking towards the end of the season and pushing on into next?
It's a very good point for Liverpool. You know, it's a good thing that they have signed him. I don't think you'll see after 2 years. I'm going to make this prediction now already. I think he'll be there another year and then you'll move on. Business-wise, it's a very clever way to do things. At the end of the contract, he would have gone for free. So, Liverpool have got this thing in production where they only pay players a certain amount, and he's the highest earning player at the moment. So obviously, he got an increase. Whether it's going to be for another 2 years, I'm not too sure. We'll see. But it's good news. We need him for another season at least, do a transition. And Van Dijk. I think Van Dijk will stay as well.
We're very much in the finishing stretch of the season. Arsenal drop points, meaning the title race is just about over, depending on how Liverpool do in the coming week.
Yeah, it's just a couple of points now.
Matter of time.
It's a matter of time of when it's going to get done. Arsenal are concentrating more on Europe now. They have to. It's the only thing they can win the season again. We're saying this again because, every year they look like they're going to push forward and win the league,
so
and they found Man City too good for 2 seasons, and now Liverpool too good. So, but it's a good result for Liverpool that they got in. They still gained through Europe, so we'll see. But Arsenal concentrating on Europe rather than the league.
Newcastle now jump into the top 4. They've had 2 good runs, one in December that brought them into contention for the top 4 race coming into the last few months of the season, and of late 4 on the trot wins, and they're right back in the race for the top 4 again.
Momentum is at the right time for them. That's been a good thing, and even though they lost their manager, he was off ill in hospital for the weekend, they still got the job done. They got the momentum definitely going forward, and they look like a team that's going to be fighting out for their top 4. I think it's going to take a good team to beat them with the momentum they got at the moment. So top 4 position for them at least.
Considering where Ipswich are this season, and that's down towards the relegation struggle, were you surprised of Chelsea's stature in the 2-2 draw against Ipswich, especially at this time of the season? We've talked about the inconsistency, but cheapers.
I'm not surprised. I've been telling you about Chelsea all season long. They blow hot and cold. I'm not surprised. I must be very honest. I actually thought they'll get the result done because of where Ipswich are, but not a major surprise, put it that way.
And then City come back from behind impressively. It looked like the old City, didn't it? It felt like the old City where even if you put 2 past them, they can still come back with an avalanche of goals. Yeah,
they actually look good. I must be. And De Bruyne once again just showed his class, But City also one of those teams blowing hot and cold. But having said that, I think they've started to come right at the right time. They've worked out their problems, and even without Haaland, they're still winning games.
Yeah, well, they've got Everton waiting for them coming up over the weekend, and that's a tough game, especially considering the David Moyes Everton.
Yeah, I've got a draw written all over this one, so I can't see any other result but a draw.
Now, Aston Villa, Newcastle United is another game to look forward to, and we know Villa, on their day, they can rock just about anybody. Newcastle United have proven to be a side that just can't be ignored as well, amongst the many in England.
My one thing about Villa is, if you look at their results after they've been playing in Europe, I always go against them. And, with my momentum of Newcastle, I've got to go with Newcastle on this one, just because of that. Villa's, whenever they play in Europe during the week, that weekend they always struggle, and I think it's going to happen again. And with the disappointment of going out, I think it's a Newcastle one.
Fulham 9th on the log, and they've actually had a loss, win, and a loss of late, but their wins have been against some big opponents. Chelsea are away at Craven Cottage, and we know how tough life can be at Craven Cottage. How do you see that game panning out?
Again, a draw. I think Fulham, if anything, Fulham will be on top, but I can't see Chelsea getting any out but a draw. So I think a draw is in the cards, that one.
Ipswich struggling, they entertain Arsenal.
Can't have any other victory but Arsenal. Even if they rest players, Arsenal will be too good for them.
Nottingham Forest need a win. They need to stay in that top 4 race. Tough away game against, topsy-turvy Tottenham. Underperforming Tottenham this season.
A very underperforming Tottenham this year. I can't have Tottenham. I must be very honest with you. I don't like the way they're playing. I'm surprised they still got him as manager, to be very honest. So I'm very, very surprised he's still there. I can't have them. I've got to go Forest.
Now, I've saved the best for last. As a Liverpool fan, Leicester away from home. Leicester have had their problems so far in this campaign. They're also in the relegation struggle. Is this where Liverpool wrap it up?
If you look at our results against Leicester, we've always been on top. I can't see anything else but a Liverpool one.
So, in your opinion, and as far as the league race, is it done and dusted? The number 1 and 2 positions, do you think they sealed the season? It's all about number 3, 4, and the European places.
Well, 3, 4, and 5, and 5 could be the Champions League still, so more than likely will be. I think that's for those positions that we're looking for, 3 all the way down to 7.
It really is interesting. It's a lovely ending to the season. It's just the quality that the English game has given us this campaign.
It's been a brilliant season, all in all. You look at all the teams, there's been surprises along the way. There's been teams that have been very consistent, teams inconsistent. Brilliant season, the best that you can have.
So, we've looked back, we've looked forward at what's happening out in England, and we say thank you very much to Shane McGregor. On the other side of this, we do have, Jadis Kosana to talk about the drama that's happening in the South African game, and my oh my, is the South African team not doing its bit in ensuring that it's as much of a talking point as football out in Germany and in England. We come back on the other side of this.
Wanna bet?
You are on.
Breaking news. Gogo takes a prize challenge to a penalty shootout.
Aziz again.
Let's go.
Brian looks confident here. What? He's completely missed it. Here comes Gogo. And what a kick! She's done it! She's done the impossible! Hollywoodbets, Azisheke, let's play.
Welcome back to Game On now. Time to talk about the beautifully South African game. And, I've got the legend, Jadis Kosana, joining me. And, let's talk about it now. Last week, you were dreaming of beautiful things for South African football, of Tshwane versus Soweto, Queen Nedbank Cup final, Tshwane versus Soweto in the doubleheader, your Champions League. Didn't quite work out. The Chiefs came and threw a spanner in the works. But you got a Soweto derby, the Nedbank Cup final instead.
Well, either side, it's just exciting.
Yeah,
unfortunately, I just wanted to touch Bule Yoguti. I wish to Yoguti at least Sundowns Pirates, Nedbank.
We've got 3 legs with
Pirates. But one thing ngibambe kakhulu ukuthi the result lay Chiefs and Pirates, because I was on the brink of getting it right when I said it's gonna go to extra time.
Yeah,
because I saw a draw like in 90 minutes.
Yeah,
but unfortunately, kunalento abayibiza ama-beneficiary angazi kwenzakalani but asiyeke le yabureva ngifuna ukuyiphatha because ngibuya was a player before, so I know how it means.
Oh, you benefited before?
Yeah, mabashaye wena
especially when there's a striker, you've benefited before now. Okay, sure.
Yeah,
no, I understand.
So let's leave le yabu-beneficiary.
But let's talk about it now. Chiefs put up quite a fight. At the end of the game, Otrele was so tired on the bench. You could see he didn't have the energy to go and celebrate, which says a lot about the Chiefs' effort going into the Sundowns game. What a game.
What a game, Fetu. It was a stellar performance, honestly, from Kaizer Chiefs. But I would also say, I don't think that was the Sundowns that we expected on the day.
Is it because of Chiefs, though? The Chiefs make Sundowns, maybe derail them?
Well, let's give credit to Gunabi.
Yeah, bro.
Yabona manje, all along alibelathi no, he's still cooking. Hey, angazi ukuthi maybe sekuyavuthwa lokudla maybe tastile kancane, maybe iSundowns bekukutaste why, but let's see what's going to happen. Njengoba bayodlala nePirate, because mabandlule kuSundowns, there is still another hurdle yePirate. So let's hope the performance abayilethe kuSundowns sizoyibona ngeyi-10 zikaMay
quickly,
at the
especially as a striker. Tough game, 2 chances created, one of them a mistake from a defender, which is a gift, but well taken by Utuba. The other, very questionable offside beneficiaries and so on. But what does that tell you about the win from Chiefs?
Because that was his always a complaint about the chances that Chiefs get, but they don't utilize them.
This time they get only 2 and they utilize them. Yeah, they utilize them.
You know that mistake of Suarez for Tuba to capitalize, and then he made sure hit the back of the net, and also that first touch, because Utupre, hey, Marshall run ngiyengabheka phansi ngathi yo lingenile ngizo celebration ngathi I know khona so unabile ayifuna.
Okay.
Because now that's the only time Chiefs can get it right. They play well.
Chiefs got it right. You got it right. Makumba Pirates playing at home, Netherlands. No surprises there for you.
There was. I mean, I just took my head off for Marumo Gallants. I think the coach that is there has just made this team to be a team that is looking strong. They had a lot of chances compared to Pirates. But I think Pirates were just like under pressure. Yes, they did get the goal that they scored. But for me, if I have to say maybe anything on the day, Marumo Gallants for me were better than Pirates in terms of commanding the whole area. Yeah, they did well. But also the replacement goalkeeper. Yeah, now at least uyawayibamba ukuthi chayine mawuthe kancane Naminkolo.
No, much respect with your comments here in Marumo Gallants and how well they played on the day. Yep. But now, we were talking about them having to balance things. When we look at what's coming up, keep in mind, the Gallants are still trying to secure safety. The Arrows, Chiefs not too long ago, they're in the running for a top 8 position. Chiefs gatekeeper number 8. It makes this game so interesting with so much in the way of permutations.
Cool. Because most of the things that we always look, it's like the teams that are lower lap, but we don't give that attention. But this one, in a money, you know, because if you look at Umangobamnet, he wants to really do well, you know. And also you can look at Marumo Gallants' improvement with the new coach. I think these are the 2 guys that came into the team and make drastic changes in how they perform. And it's going to be a closely contested one. I can give it to Marumo Gallants.
To Marumo Gallants?
Marumo Gallants to Peter Arrows.
Interesting. I'll remember this for next week here. But let's talk about the later kickoff. Chippa United now. Chiefs have decided Chippa not too long ago themselves in the Nedbank Cup, but Chippa United 29 points. Chiefs 30 points. Chippa United 9th on the log. Chiefs 8th. As things stand, it's one of those games where there's so much to play for. Chippa's at home. The Chiefs are going to be trying to put together win after win, which has been tough for them this season. They need to, after the success in Nedbank Cup, they need to start doing the same in the league and putting together good performances.
Hayi yabona le mfethu if khona fencing ngihlala fencing
kanjani nje
ngihlala fencing I think le ngibona draw I promise.
There's so much to play for both these sides. It's as good as the cup final.
Ngithi mina ngihlala fencing.
After this, there's 5 games to go after this game.
The pressure is going to be on the Chiefs players because of what they did to Sundowns, and then the whole support that will be there. It will be like Chiefs, the whole stadium.
You can imagine the turnout.
You understand?
Atmosphere.
So now when you look at Ikemi about Sundowns, the pressure was less because they were told they need to go and play. So now they are taken as if they are on top of a Chippa because of Interbanze Sundowns. That's where most of the players said Chiefs, because when they thought everybody's happy about their performance, that's where they let it go. So that's my problem. That's why it's a draw.
Well, keep in mind, there's also the derby out in the Limpopo province. Look forward to Skukuni United taking on Polokwane City, whilst tomorrow Makesi take on TS Galaxy. Exciting times. Great time to be alive. In the way of football here in Mzansi. We'll be chatting to Mcherere next week. Find out if some of his predictions will be true. And my oh my, how Chippa United fans would love to see prove Sherry wrong. And the same can be said for Kaizer Chiefs fans. But for now, we say cheers to Sherry. Take a short break, come back and talk German football with Shane McGregor. Welcome back. Time now to look at what's happening out in Germany in as far as the league title. And Shane McGregor steps back up to the plate here to knock one out the park. Shane, let's talk about the biggest talking point of last weekend. We spoke about the fact that Leverkusen were playing early with Munich playing later on in the day. The importance of the result then, Leverkusen go and draw 0-0 against Union Berlin. 0-0 of all scorelines out in Germany, which is something that's rare. And Dortmund, or rather Munich, do their business.
Well, that's exactly it. Leverkusen had a chance to get something back. They obviously Bayern were playing a derby game, and we all know about derby games. But Leverkusen, surprisingly, 0-0. I mean, that's unheard of, especially in German football. But with them, it's unheard of. So couldn't get the job done. And then what can I say? The derby game, 2-2,
lives up to
games
expectation in both those sides.
Exactly. Whenever you play a derby game, and we all know this all over the world, it's always going to be fireworks, and that was all about it. 2 goals each, 4 goals. What a game!
Now, I spoke to you about the importance of the earlier game and the later game. And obviously, Leverkusen were looking to put the pressure on with the early result, hoping it would be a win. Do you think it's safe to say, having seen the early result, Munich did the business in securing the draw here?
I don't think it would have played on their minds. I don't think it would have played on their minds. They would have just gone out because it's a derby game and obviously want to try and get the result. That's what it was about. So unfortunately for them, fortunately for them, they got a draw, but unfortunately they didn't get the 3 points.
Now let's talk about the bottom of the table. And interesting when you look at things in as far as the relegation battle. Holstein Kiel, right down at the bottom, 18th. They've only amassed 18 points so far this season. When you look at the games coming up, they've got Leipzig, they've got Gladbach, they've got Augsburg, Freiburg, and Borussia Dortmund. And just the games that lie ahead of them. Yeah. It's been a tough season. It looks as though it doesn't get any easier moving forward.
Nah, it's not going to get easier for them. For me, they're going to be one of those teams that are going to be playing below the Premier League. I can't see them getting out of this. I really can't. They haven't done it the whole season. They've been outperformed by every team, basically. I can't see them getting anything out of this game either.
Well, concerns for Bochum, 17th, they're also in serious trouble, only having amassed 17 points. But when you look at their run of late, of the last 5, they lost 5 games ago. They've lost the rest coming into the weekend's action, and they've got Bremen up next.
Yeah, once again, a team that's basically going down. You can't get results if you're losing games in a row. And I think the fight's just gone out of them. It's been one of those seasons for them, unfortunately. We always talk about, if you look at teams, the previous year they do well, and they come back into the league, they should expect them to do well. But then they lose vital players. That is a big thing. You can't be selling players all the time. And I know a lot of teams have to do that to survive the league, to survive the season. You can't be doing that because it's going to catch up with you. And that's happening in Germany as well. The guys are selling players, and that season they've been struggling, and that's a big thing. You got to look at that.
We also talk about the importance of being able to balance the league and Europe when you qualify for Europe. Heidenheim qualify for the UEFA Conference League, and while some would have expected them to continue onwards in improving, here they are 16th position rather on the league table, with the likes of Munich, Stuttgart, Bochum, Union, and Werder Bremen lying ahead. It's looking as though it's a complete opposite in the performances from last season to this.
Yeah, exactly, completely.
Is it Europe?
Yeah, it's Europe as well. When you're playing so many games and you've got a small squad, it's difficult. You get 1 or 2 injuries, then all of a sudden you're calling on the youth, getting the youngsters in. Doesn't work. You're not a Bayern that's got a big squad, so you've got to balance the 2 of them. But for me, unfortunately for them, they didn't bring enough players in, and they didn't have a big enough squad to last the season, and it's telling now at the end. Not a great looking for them where they're going forward, or the games they got going forward. So they're in big trouble as well.
Big trouble, and lots of sides that are in a spot of bother at the bottom of the log standings out in Germany. We say thank you very much to Shane, and we should focus back at what's happening locally with a special little interview where we have journalist Mthokozisi Dube coming in. We pick his mind on the biggest talking points in South African football coming out of last weekend. Coach Nabi from Kaizer Chiefs. So, as we promised, Mto's joining us now, and we're talking about the biggest talking point, I think, in Mzansi football over the last week. And that's not only just Kaizer Chiefs beating Mamelodi Sundowns, it's what it means overall, more so for the man who's been said to be cooking all season. Is the chef finally found his recipe? Is the big question, Mto.
Look, I don't think so. Honest truth is that Kaizer Chiefs still has a long way to go. I mean, that's not the way to win a game as a big team. I think they need to be consistent, from here. It does buy him a few more games, I suppose.
Games?
Yeah.
As in this season?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about, here's the win against Sundowns. Now you got the final at, May 10th? And usually that comes at the end of the season. So what does that then mean for Nabi? Are we waiting to the end of the season or this season? How important are still the results between now and then?
Yeah, look, I think, getting into the final is obviously big for the club. It buys him, I say a few more games because obviously they would want to see how he does in the final. But when you look at the way they started in terms of the vision and working together and trying to bring in certain players, renewing certain players, you can tell that there is a bit of a disconnect now. And I say this based on the kind of players that they are renewing, contracts, seemingly without including him in the conversation. So it doesn't look like they have him in their plans in the long term. But maybe winning games and probably finishing in the top 6, which is still possible, would then obviously get the fans behind him, which obviously changes the conversation because they won't be able to get rid of him if the fans are saying, okay, actually, he's doing something right.
Two major points coming into the season. The one was Chiefs not making a top 8 position. I'd imagine that's still crucial for them going 100%. Into the end of the season. But another was looking at your biggest rivals and how well they're doing, not only locally, but also watching the season do as well as they've done in the CAF competitions, including Stellenbosch in the CAF competitions. They're still in the talking points, all three of those sides.
Sure.
The big point here with this win of Sundowns is Chiefs is back in the CAF conversations coming into next season. Now, how much does that change the spectrum for Nabi? How much does that maybe help him sleep a little bit easier?
Yeah, look, I think one of the things that I said at the start of the season was that a club like Kaizer Chiefs needs to be playing in that space. I mean, it's a competition that is won previously with Leopards, the DRC team. He's reached the final with Young Africans. So it's a space where he wants to, get into and guide the Kaizer Chiefs. But going into that space, you need to sign players. You need to be competitive. I mean, it's no fluke that Stellenbosch has gone as far as they've done, or Pirates. They've built good, strong, competitive squads, which I don't think Kaizer Chiefs have at this point.
Well, that's still a talking point, let's say, going into the off-season. But let's assume Chiefs may not make it into the top 8. It's still very possible that they may not make it. If they were not to make it, and again, we're just speculating, does that change the whole picture altogether? Even though they've got to the final of the Nedbank Cup and gotten to the CAF conversations, how influential is a top 8 position still? How important is it in securing Nabi's future?
Look, I mean, if he goes on and wins a Nedbank Cup, it says, oh, this guy has ended our 10-year drought, It sort of changes the whole conversation.
Top 8?
But if he fails if he wins it and fails to reach top 8, that would buy him another season. Possibly. Yeah.
No, even without
because Kaizer Chiefs they're hungry for a trophy. They just want to win a trophy, just to break that 10-year drought.
Well,
the trophy cabinet is too dusty.
You have it from Togozi. So it's interesting when you consider Chiefs are right back where they want to be and rubbing shoulders with some of the best in the country. In the way of the Nedbank Cup final, they are back with rubbing shoulders with some of the best on the continent in the CAF conversations. That's in the future. So exciting times. Nabi's future, though, is something that's worth keeping an eye on. And thank you so much to Mto. Thank you so much to Shane, and let's not forget Jerry as well. And from myself, Susan Mapena, and the rest of the team behind the scenes, we thank you at home for taking the time to join us. We'll catch you next week on GameON. Click, click, bang.